it's when everybody's talking like about nothing happening. It's like that's the time to learn a skill, because for two reasons. One, what you said is you're prepping for to have that skill when the paydays are ready to, when people are starting to actually move things fast, and you'll be ready for it. And two, it's like this is like always a good time because it's harder to learn. But if you can learn it, you can do it in hard times and good times.
What is going on, guys? Welcome to today's episode of the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today is Wednesday, and we have the Mike and Dan Show. And if this is your first time here, my name is Mike DeHaan, and I'm here with my co-host, Dan Austin. And on these Wednesday shows, we talk about real estate investing, business, and whatever else we feel like for the week. So,
I feel like
I don't know.
That's the question.
I don't know, 'cause
how do you feel?
I know it's such a weird time just in real estate period, because I feel like macro level, like real estate news, there isn't like a ton of things going on. Like everything's kind of focused on like interest rates and stuff like that, because they keep going like higher and higher. People have like stopped talking about a bust because it obviously hasn't happened. Total transactions are supposed to be down, and some places they are, some places they aren't. It's just kind of a lull everywhere. And then, business wise as well, typically coming out of August, getting into like the beginning of the school season, all that sort of stuff, it's always a bit slow as a business. Like we found this particular period historically to be pretty slow for us over the years. So we're just kind of in like a, refocusing phase, I guess, trying to figure out how to keep improving our processes and doing everything else as much as we can internally.
Right.
But,
yeah. I don't know. I'm always like hopeful. You bring up the market stalemate, which I feel like we've been talking about since the beginning of 2023. Like it's just been like this weird slowdown, and nobody's freaking out, but like everybody has lost the money they're going to lose, at least unless there's other shit going on, right? But like,
well, the multifamily people are going to start losing.
We haven't gotten
soon
to the commercial space yet, but for like the single family, like all the flippers that were going to go to you have kind of gone to you. Like we took our licks. A lot of people are carrying things over, and it was funny because it was like a slow train wreck. You're like, damn it, I know I'm going to lose money when I get this flip done. Let's just get it done. So there's a lot of that through Q1, and a little bit more kind of drug out maybe into the beginning of Q2. But now it's just like everybody that's still operating is like, yeah, I'm making money. I wish it was easier like it was back in 2022 when I could caulk everything and throw it up on the market. And, renting right now is a pain in the ass. Like it takes more time because rents are depressing. And so like go ahead.
I was gonna say, and like rental properties in general are just rough right now to even be buying with interest rates.
So
like you
hard.
have to be buying things on seller finance or on just like such obscenely good deals that you don't care that you're getting it at an 8% interest rate.
Right. So it's extra hard to buy those, and that's kind of why everybody's exclusively kind of flipping. Like the market is being moved by investor buyers that are, basically wholesaling it to flippers, or flippers that are buying things to flip and sell to retail people. But my point in bringing that up is like in the background, like earlier this year, like JP Chase dropped $1 billion into real estate. Warren Buffett recently acquired in home builders. I don't remember how much he invested. It was $400 million, I believe, into U.S. home builders. And so like there's these like background investments going on in home building. And when I say JP Chase dropped that $1 billion, it was in new construction turnkey rental properties. And so there's some of those larger, somewhat of a drop in the bucket for those investors, those big banks, but large investments into the new construction. And so then you're like, well, why is Warren Buffett dropping $400 million? Like, so there are these plays that you're like, do I just need to wait and see? Like, when is this going to happen? And my thought is that there's probably just going to be a great upswing for, home builders and new construction stuff going into next year, as interest rates do inevitably kind of come down a little bit. And with that, a lot of people on the sidelines are there ready to buy. And that inventory always goes faster than used houses. Nobody wants to buy a used house when you can buy a new house.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that there's going to be if the interest rates come down, there would be another pretty good real estate surge again. Primarily because we have so many of these, investors, us included on this, that are doing things to accumulate cash, that are waiting for the next buying opportunity, right? And that, like, all the big names that we know right now, they are not necessarily buying properties, right? They're either selling off properties because their return on equity has dropped, and so they're selling it to the more, like, I don't know, casual investors that aren't like actively running real estate business, aren't trying to build very large portfolios. You can still sell things to those people relatively easily, right? And so if their return on equity is getting poor, we're in the same boat too. Start selling some properties, get some cash, working on flipping properties, working on wholesaling, working on like every other business people are doing right now. A lot of people are getting into like general contracting and things like that with their flipping crews, and if rates do come down, there's going to be a bunch of money that's just like waiting to pounce and is going to be ready to start buying again, right? And I think that's a great sort of thing. If that does happen, you want to be the person that has deals and has a pipeline, because tell you what, when all the money suddenly comes out of the woodwork and wants to start buying again, if you have like a surplus of leads, especially if you're looking to wholesale or do things like that, it's going to be so easy to start selling deals again. Right. It's going to be like 2021 all over again, where you could sell stuff at such obscenely high prices to other investors just because it was like the flavor of the month, right? Everyone was trying to get into real estate back then.
Totally. Yeah, and like now is the time to learn the skill. It's when everybody's talking like about nothing happening. It's like that's the time to learn a skill, because for two reasons. One, what you said is you're prepping to have that skill when the paydays are ready to, when people are starting to actually move things fast, and you'll be ready for it. And two, it's like this is like always a good time because it's harder to learn. But if you can learn it, you can do it in hard times and good times. It's really easy to do anything in good times if you're ready to rock and roll, but it's the hard times. If you can figure out how to operate a business, any business in any market, if you can figure out how to operate that when it's tough, you're set for success. You can't fail almost.
Yeah, definitely. I know it has been interesting to just like watch the shift in interest, I guess, as real estate has sort of come up and out of favor, especially because it's been just kind of flat, and it's actually like requires work now. You can't just like buy a house with ugly carpet on the MLS and fix the carpet and sell it for $60,000 more anymore.
Yeah, you cannot.
But with the internet age, stuff always goes so fast, and there's always like the current like get rich quick scheme, so 2021 it was real estate. And then I guess, same time what crypto was like the biggest thing. 2022, I don't even know what it was at that point. I think that's when we were starting to get into like the sub 2, and like that's the rise of Pace, Morby, and all that sort of stuff got massive in 2022. Now the biggest one that freaking drives me crazy is like the Cody Sanchez like buying small business thing, which is absolutely a valid play, right? There's such a great case to be made by all these people that talk about all these retiring baby boomers that have businesses they haven't optimized, that don't know what the retirement plan is, and for savvy entrepreneurs to come in and buy these businesses. But the thing that freaking drives me crazy is just like with every other, like a sort of like fad that comes in, is you end up with these people, right, who are like, they're always like young white dudes. That's just like the MO, like the finance bros. Everyone knows these guys. Everyone has this person sort of in their circle that are like, you don't. Yeah, it's me.
But affluent investors like yourself.
Yeah, right now. But it's the people that are trying to get to that point, right? And they're like, I need to start buying businesses, and I was like, I know that I work as like a $60,000 a year job.
I was waiting to see here what
that
job
is like,
it was.
No, I was trying to think something. There's like $60,000 a year job where I have zero management responsibilities, and all I do is I send 4 emails a day and I fuck around all day. And I've decided that I need to buy businesses, so I'm going to go and try to figure out how I can become in charge of 35 other people with literally no experience doing that, right? And there are people that are like actually making moves, and they're like, oh, it's really easy to get an SBA loan. Did you know that? I'm just going to go submit an LOI on this plumbing business in my local market, and then it's so simple. You just find the guy that's been there for 20 years, and you make them the manager, and then you make money. It's like, if it was that freaking simple, right? Like, no, it's not. And it's just such a frustrating thing. I see that everywhere. And one of the biggest red flags for me, it's kind of like when you meet like a random real estate investor, and they're like, I have, 600 units. And like you look at them, you're like, no, you don't. You find out they're an LP
Yeah, of course.
and they're full of shit. Right. The big red flag for me is when you see someone like post something about how they're looking to buy businesses with an S.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you've never run one business.
Yeah.
Why are you deciding you need to buy multiple like right now?
It's like I'm in search of laundromats and storage facilities and a, I don't know, cell phone store.
Yeah. I know. Well, like, I appreciate the hustle culture that kind of like it just exists amongst people right now, and people wanting to like make a difference with their life. But it's led to this really weird thing where all these people is kind of like they get in these little circle jerk groups and like they don't actually do anything, and they're like, my goals are to flip 3 houses this year and to buy a small business and to buy a self-storage facility and to buy a freaking Airbnb in the Catskills and to like do whatever the fuck else. And it's like, if we all just collectively just decided, like, called each other out on this and just said, hey, dumbass, just focus on one thing, we would all be more successful. Right. And not only that, but like all those different like asset classes and, different parts of just like business and the economy in general would probably be better because we wouldn't have like millions of people that are 1 foot in and 1 foot out and kind of just making everything freaking complicated for no reason. Totally. Honestly.
Yeah. There's a lot like to be said too about just idiots getting in any asset class, and there's idiots in real estate. Fortunately, most of them became syndicators, and so we didn't have to deal with too many of them. Let's be honest.
Just call them out right there. You're not wrong.
Well, a lot of them.
Because that's this. But you're completely right, though. So if you go back 2 years ago, that was the same thing. As where you had the person that had never done a real estate transaction in their life. They lived in like a freaking one bed, one bath studio apartment, and they had their basic job, and they're like, you know what? I need to start buying, mobile home parks between $10 and $15 million. It's like, come on, bro. What are you thinking? It's like, well, Brandon Turner says that his biggest regret is he didn't go big earlier. Right. It's like, yeah, but he means that he didn't go big after he'd done like 20 deals. Yeah. Not like on the first one.
Not the first one. And a lot of them, that's exactly what it is. The process that they learn is sound, right? It's like go and find a property, go raise money, and then stabilize and operate it. But it's like all of those things are really hard to do properly. That's why there's not people out there that are just doing it all the time, like OGs. Like they're very tactical in what they're doing, and they take time to get these deals. Otherwise, they'd be the ones buying all these shitty deals that you're slinging to your, mom and telling her to, take money out of a retirement account to put into this deal, right? So I think that was always a challenge, just running into those types of people and saying, gosh dang, like when is this bubble going to pop? And a lot of it has actually for some of those guys because they're not doing anything and they're incentivized by acquisitions. There's no acquisitions going on. And then the big one's probably going to be 2024-ish, 2025-ish, when a lot of that commercial debt, the ceilings lift and they basically have no more rate locks on whatever their debt was at, or rate ceilings, I should say, rather, and they're going to be in trouble, or they need to refinance for whatever reason, and their debt is going to be twice as expensive. That sucks.
Yeah, and they're going to be completely
back to the small business thing. Like there's people going in there, to your point, trying to buy businesses, and if there's people that are employed there, managing people is incredibly hard. So if you have no skill in that, like that's a learned skill. So if you step right into it, granted, if you're a manager, you have a business already, or maybe you're even a senior leader in a business, you know how to read a P&L, maybe you've managed a P&L before, you're definitely more educated than the average person joining these groups and paying, thousands of dollars to learn this skill. Because if you show up and you don't understand how to, what is even a good profit margin for your business, right? Most businesses, honestly, are in like that 10 to 12 to 15% on the high end profit margin. So think about that. And there's a lot of small businesses out there that appear to be doing well, but they're really not doing that well. And so if you go in there and the difference is you have these old timers that have been running, the baby boomers, who are there ultimately taking care of the people who are employed there first. Like that, as a business owner, as a leader, that's a really important aspect of your role. So you come in and you realize there's no freaking margins, and now you have these people that you don't care about. They don't care about you either. Now you're just kind of coming in and it's like wrecking it. You're just like screwing this business up, and you don't know how to lead people. You don't know how to take care of people. You don't realize that the margins aren't that great. You learned it in your economics class, your accounting class somewhere in your undergraduate, and you think you know it, but it's really freaking hard.
It is. And I think the thing that really worries me about that whole trend is, like back in 2021, when you had kind of ignorant people getting into real estate, you're really kind of setting yourself up for weird situations, right? The problem is when you have someone that's ignorant that's now going and buying this business where you're in charge of 30 people, right. You're affecting the lives of 30 families, right? At that point, if you don't know what you're doing. So it gets pretty irresponsible. And, not that I don't think people should pursue it. I think you absolutely should do that if it's something you're interested in. But just understand that there's a level of expertise that you don't even know that you don't have. Right. And if these kind of different businesses are things that you want to get involved in, or you want to get involved in like buying business or doing things like that, instead of working at whatever your $60,000 a year job is, go and work for like a private equity company that buys businesses and learn the process, or go and like work for a business that is like the business that you're looking to buy. So you can at least know what you're going to be getting yourself into. Right. And I think it's kind of the problem with the instant gratification sort of mindset that we have everywhere is people are always just trying to cut the line and not realizing that there is a learning process and there is downside risk on all of these things. And, not only for you, but for the other people that are involved in the process. And I don't know, it's just been like one of the biggest like pet peeves that I've developed because it just seems to be everywhere on social media and in the different, Facebook groups that we're involved in, even high level ones like GoBundance. There's like people in that have a 7-figure net worth just because they owned, 3 properties in San Francisco that they bought in like the 1980s or that they inherited. And now they're like, I'm a business owner. I'm going to go and buy a business. And it's like, you've never actually done a business activity in your life. You've just been in a fortunate situation. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a dick. I have no idea. It's just the thing that drives me crazy right now.
You got 3 peppers of spice right now. That's for sure. Right. Spicy, but I don't disagree with everything. Although to your very first comment, which it's a very valid strategy, and I do think that there is a really good value in owning a business, and building one from scratch is incredibly hard. So if in theory you could buy one, that would be way better. And if you can buy a good cash flowing business, that's even better because now you're buying cash flow. And as you and I have always said, like business income is the way to build wealth. Right. Like real estate is how like we got to where we're at in a sense of a long-term thing, but to have like true wealth to invest in real estate quickly, like business income is going to get you there. Cash flow from your rental properties is not going to compound fast enough. So you need to have this active performing income where you're out there, and doing it as a W-2 job is one way. But if you own your business, there's just many tax advantages. And there are just many other advantages to just being able to scale your income and not being limited by your salary, because you really can grow a business income as big as you want, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's all go back to that massive income versus passive income thing, and it's something that I think a lot of people have a limiting belief about. Yeah. Right. And this is one of my other current pet peeves that I see a lot is these people that, have relatively low incomes, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year, which is like decent income, but like big picture, like it's not awesome. And they're focused on things like tax benefits and stuff like that, right? Where they're like trying to, I've literally met people like this where like, oh, I need to like figure out how to set up this real estate or like make these investments so that I don't have to pay any taxes. I'm like, you don't make any money yet.
You trust me, you're not worried about your effective tax rate's probably like 12%, if that.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't even worry about it. Go and like learn to make money and get to the point where you're worried about that 6-figure tax bill that you're going to have. Then you can deal with it. Right. And people like to find these things to just like,
you're better off paying when you have a low
action.
Tax rate. You're better off paying the taxes and taking full ownership of that money as opposed to trying to put it out in a distance. Right. Because your tax rate will never be lower than when it's like below 6 figures, to be honest. Right. Like that is a great place to be paying taxes, to be honest.
Yeah, that's like one of the issues I have with like 401ks is people, they heavily invest in 401ks and they always sell the tax advantages on these 401ks. It's like, understand when you give a 401k, you're giving a loan to the 401k company to do whatever they want with that money until you're 65 years old. Right. Yeah. And even though they'll put it in stocks or whatever they tell you they're going to do, they're going to do all sorts of other shit with it because you're not going to get it.
And tax advantage accounts have advantages, right? But they're usually not that great. And so if you think about it, your money's locked up kind of, right? For until you're old. Yeah. And then when you get to a certain age and they're like, no, you have to take it out. And so we can get our taxes out of it. So then they have minimum distributions where if you just had mutual funds outside of an account, where you've already paid tax on the principal going into it, you can do whatever you want, buy and sell those anytime in your life. And so like that, there's pros and cons to both. But if you're stuck in that mindset of like, I have to invest in my 401k because it's a tax advantage, it's like, well, is it? You know what I mean? Especially if you're in a low tax bracket.
For sure. And it'll save you like a little bit for that year, but you can, if you have full control of that money, you could go and you could 10x that in the next year, right? Or 100x it even, right? Like if you learn how to, multiply that money.
Learn how to buy businesses.
But yeah, right. If you learn how to buy businesses. But no, I mean, just the whole thing with that though is the management piece. I don't know why it never gets fully talked about in that conversation. Like, honestly, it's kind of like with the whole subject to fad, where no one ever talks about like the liabilities that the seller carries with that. They just like to pretend like it doesn't happen, and they like to pretend like every seller is a good candidate for it. And it's like, no, like a little old lady who like actually needs to have credit to be able to get into her old folks home or an apartment is not a good candidate for a subject to, right? But same with this, the buying business stuff. I don't ever hear a lot of conversation around the person management piece of it. And the one way that it usually gets brushed aside, like I said before, is they'll always be like, you just find the person that's been there the longest, you make them the COO, and then they run it. What happens if that person leaves? Like, do you know how to run these people? And I can tell you from experience, as someone who has built a business and has now built a team, like a pretty decent sized team. We have 17 people across everything, right? Across the podcast team and the investment team. And it's hard to do even when you know the business, let alone when you don't know the business. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, talent growth and talent acquisition is probably one of the hardest parts of a business. Like, really,
it is.
Otherwise we'd have a COO that's running the business for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely the hardest part. And then even once you are able to find that talent, keeping that talent engaged and excited and like wanting to work for you is a hard thing to do. It doesn't just happen by magic, because I hate to break it to you, but most people don't necessarily want to work for you. Right? Like most people work because they have to, because they get a paycheck, and there will be places that they enjoy working more than others. But I think you can go to 99% of people and they would rather just be rich and not have to come and work for you.
Absolutely.
Right? So you need to make it worth their while to be there.
Yeah.
I heard there's some different ways you can do it, but that just never gets addressed at all. And I don't know.
No, I agree with you. And to pull the thread a little further on your point of people wanting to work for you versus not, like, I heard a good quote today on a podcast, which was like, money doesn't buy happiness, but poverty doesn't buy anything. Right. So people have to go to work. Right. And so it's your duty as the owner and the CEO and the leader to make it a great workplace. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they want to work for you specifically, because like you could have this goes to talent acquisition. You have to find people that fit into your culture and fit to your needs. And it's really easy to do that like wrong. And so it gets really difficult to create that environment where everybody in your company is actually working together as a cohesive team and working for a greater mission, in the sense of like, I need to make some money here, but I like having an employer, an employment that keeps me focused on this thing. And in real estate for us, it's been a great opportunity for people that want to come work for us to learn real estate. Like, we have that advantage. Like, there's not too many people that are like, I want to go work at a laundromat to learn about laundromats. Yeah, there might be some, like, I have no idea. Just, it seems like that's probably not the place to go do it. Like, but real estate, like, you can offer that bigger, larger goal, where even like large corporations, like, really all you're learning is a skill to be a better employee for somebody else, because that's why you're going there, right? And like these large, huge, multi tens of thousands of companies, right? Like, you're learning to be in that environment.
I think you go to those for the perks. I don't know how many people like love to work.
No, that's why I'm saying the perks. But like, I guess when you're there to educate yourself and learn, you're not educating yourself to learn to do something personal. Where coming into a small real estate business, if you want to learn how to buy houses, flip houses, all that sort of stuff, go work for an investor like us or a company like ours. And then you take that outside of that work. In the future, you get to take that with you. Like, our staff, like, we want them to take that with them. Like, when they eventually move on, they're not going to work here for 100 years. I hope not. Like,
God, I really hope not. I hope this business will go for freaking 100 years.
Yeah, I'm on time. Like, I'm on a clock here, man. I can't.
I don't have like that weird like legacy thing that a lot of men seem to have, where they're like, I need to have like legacy wealth. I don't give a shit. Like, I don't know. I want to do stuff like, if I have kids, I hope that they'll do okay. But after my kids, their kids got to figure it out.
Yeah, like, and to be honest, like, once you die, like, in whether you believe in God or not, like, I mean, it's, you want your family to be taken care of once you die. I mean, does it really? You can't affect anything after that, Like,
yeah.
So,
but don't know.
Got
Anyways,
morbid. Can we talk about the phone call I was on right before this? I'd love to talk about that situation when we talk about business and partnerships and how to make a shit ton of money.
I listened to 3 phone calls that like before this. You had one with an investor down in Texas that we're talking to. You had one with a contractor. You made a slightly off-color joke that maybe hit.
I made an off-color observation.
It didn't really hit very well. And then you had one with one of our current existing partnership program members. So which one did you want to talk about? Because I sat here for like 40 minutes.
Yeah, what do I want? What one is more important? Well, I will start this off. Okay, so those were
So I guess what led you to that? Like which conversation did you want to
let
talk
me
about
step back for a second. I will say on that note, while we're talking about this, like how we talk to our investor partners and different, I was talking to a contractor and all this stuff. The key to that and talking about business and being successful is communication, like 100%. And like we're talking, we made a connection through another person. We were looking for a buyer in Houston, and we made a connection to another buyer through a personal relationship. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll send you that contact. We're on the phone with them immediately. Like, awesome. Like that's how you be successful in business, especially in this business. But what I wanted to talk about was our partnership that we have. The guy was talking about his numbers and his net for the year and where he's going. Cause this is like, to me, that speaks to, and the reason why I brought it up, not out of left field, is it speaks to the true value of business and business relationships and how the income can be almost limitless in a sense, because you're in control of it as a business owner. Yeah. So I will just start this off by, if you don't know what our partnership program is, it's where we partner with other investors in other cities all over the country, and we basically run the front end of their business. We find all the good deals for them, and then we take a small fee when we wholesale it to them, and they get all the upside. That's the simplest one.
So we run the marketing and
sales.
Yep.
Essentially, we get you a contract for the pricing that you want, and then we give it to you for a small fee, and then you do whatever you want with it. And so that's kind of been a lot of our focus on our partnership as we've grown that and realized the value of these partnerships of people, because that's how we grew our business successfully locally in our hometown as well. And so we were talking to him, and so far this year through, I'm guessing it was through August, he's already net $313,000 in his bank account from wholesaling. Does not include, he's got a $50K profit coming in from a flip. Doesn't include all the listings he's getting from referrals, because when you're doing direct mail marketing to people, if you think about this, realtors do direct mail marketing too. They're doing marketing. And so some of the leads we get inevitably don't work out as cash buyers because they have no distress. It just happens, and they call and you're like, okay, can I list it? And boom. So he's been doing that as a real estate agent over there. So I just wanted to talk about that because I think that is crazy awesome in his part. And the reason why he's that successful is because he's busting his ass and he's taking it serious as a business owner.
Yeah. And that's been something that's really cool in general. I mean, not even just with him, but like with even the people that have come through our normal instant investor program, is how like honestly simple it is. Like it's not easy, but it's simple to make like very legitimate money.
Yes.
When you have a pipeline of deals, which isn't that complicated to build. Honestly, the hardest part's the sales. And so the thing with like our partnership programs, we take care of the sales, and then you just have to worry about the monetization part of it. But I think that everyone that we have that comes in and actually does the work that we prescribe to them to do, we are at what 100% success rate, honestly.
Yeah, if you do,
I think the only people that fail are the ones that come in and fuck around and
don't do it. Like our guarantee is like if you come in and you do all the steps we tell you to do, and like you execute and you put really effort into it, like you'll make money. Like I guarantee that.
Absolutely.
I don't know how you win it.
It's like it's impossible not to.
And it's impossible not to. And we can say that now, having personally operated in dozens and dozens of markets across the country, all the way like from really high end markets to just like low cheap markets, and also working with tons of people on this and observing how they follow the system and just do it and just execute it. It's not complicated. Just follow the system, and inevitably it works out.
Yeah, and it's like even going through that experience, not only ourselves but also just working with other people, it just is always still mind blowing to me how few people like take shots, right? You know, and then like there's so many, or like how many people think that in order to be successful, you have to have like the next crazy thing, you know, or they have this such limiting belief. I mean, even on like Reddit, I'll always see these posts of like, I follow the entrepreneur subreddit, and they'll be like, I don't understand how you're supposed to start a business when every business idea has been taken. It's like, just go and copy anybody.
You don't even have to
like,
be the best one. Just copy them.
No. Yeah. I mean, like we've met people in like, especially the wholesaling space, that are terrible at their business, but they are consistent with the process. They figure it out, and then over the course of a couple of years, they make like $1 million bucks. Their outlook on life is now 100% different than if they did what they were probably suited to do before, which was like, I don't know, work a $40,000 or $50,000 a year job in like a very basic company, because they don't have a degree, they don't have any skills, right? They just kind of like were going through life. And now all of a sudden they've been able to figure out like this marketing and sales and like how to identify opportunity in real estate, which the great thing about real estate is, you know, there's a lot of calculators out there to be able to do stuff. There's a lot of tools. It's a very established industry. There are people all along the way to help you with the process, right? Whether that's an educator, whether that is, you know, a lender, right? There's lenders to help you buy whatever you want to do. There's other investors that are happy to help you out. There's title companies to help you do all the hard shit. Like, it's not hard. Like it is meant for you to make money. There's a ton of people that want you to make money so that they can also make money.
Right. And it's only hard when you try to do all the latest and greatest fancy bullshit that people are pitching, right? You know, you talked about sub 2 earlier. Like, that is an incredibly hard tool to employ in off-market real estate. Like, it's super hard. First of all, you got to find people that even know how to execute on it. Then you have to get a seller that actually can understand it, and then you have to figure out how to do it, right? It's incredibly hard. Like, don't overcomplicate it. Use it when it makes sense, but that's like the get quick rich with no money kind of scheme. Is like, don't worry about that. Just go with the old fashioned methodology. Like, just show up every day and do it the way that you're seeing other people do it. Who cares if there's 5 wholesalers in your city? There's hundreds in some cities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there really is. I mean, I've even heard about people having these wholesale meetups in some of the big metros, and literally 100+ people will come.
Yeah, I was just on the phone literally with a guy in Houston who's marketing in Jacksonville, and I was like, oh, so are we. So are we. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, like there's so many people, right? Like there's just enough opportunity in anywhere. And like, that's what I always think about. I was like, well, that's why franchises do so well. Right? Like you get a business system given to you, and there could be, you know, what, I don't know, like a Chipotle, right? That's a franchise, I think, restaurant. There's several Chipotles in Spokane. Yeah. There's a lot of other franchises in Spokane outside of a Chipotle. Yeah. They all seem to work.
Yeah. But the challenge with things like franchises, right, is they require massive capital investment to be able to do it. And you know, also too, you look at franchises, they will always want you to have some sort of business experience, because what they don't want you to do is, you don't want you to be that guy that's making $80,000 a year and decides that they need to buy a small business and comes in and doesn't know what the hell they're doing, right? So they kind of have that. And then the thing that I like about, you know, the off-market real estate game is, you know, all the success that we talked about. You can do that as like a 1 or 2 person operation. You don't need to have a big team. You don't need to have like a huge bank account, right? You just have to have a process and a commitment to yourself that you're going to do what needs to be done in order to be successful, right? Just a roadmap.
How much money do you need, though?
Realistically, well, what I tell people when they hop on a call with me to talk about the Instant Investor Program, I typically tell people to have between $30,000 to $40,000, right? Which I understand is not a small amount of money, and that's why you guys like Pace Morby with the sub 2 have taken off, because they're like, you don't even need that. Like, I'll just all you need is $10,000 to give to me for my course, and then I'll get you there, right? Which is a bunch of horse shit. But like, realistically, if you're gonna run like a proper marketing sales system, 30 or 40 grand. If you don't have that, you need to save your money. You need to work side hustle. You need to like spend that time learning skills, right? Do anything you can to make that initial nest egg, and then from there be willing to commit it to yourself. That's where like the whole S in me 500 comes into, right? You're going to invest that money into yourself and your business, and you can get 10, 30, 100x returns on that initial investment if you're smart about it.
Yeah, and I will be devil's advocate what you're saying a little bit. Is like, yes, what you just said is the way to start your business and be ready to scale and do it properly. If you have more time, you can still get out there and do shit. It's just way harder, and you have to give up time, and time is very precious. So like, technically speaking, you could go around and just door knock everybody in your neighborhood until somebody wants to sell you their house. And you could door knock and give them 70% ARV minus repairs, cash offers all day long. And you'll probably lock some shit up and you'll get good at door-to-door sales. But that could take you months of doing that when you could just, have like what we're saying, save up your money and go right into these other systems. Maybe we should do like a course on how to do this with no money without being an idiot.
With no money without being an idiot. The problem is we've never really done that. We kind of started with some money from our engineering.
No, I know, but there's the lower cost ways of marketing, right? And so what we do, the way we set it up, is that you can have some passivity in your lead generation.
Yeah, absolutely. What you should do, if you're serious about it, we have our new program that we are launching, actually, but for people that want to take it a little more seriously, which is our Accelerator program, which you should be able to see the basic information, hopefully by the time it comes out. Our developers working on it at collectingkeyspodcast.com/launch. But this will be our first take. We want to find 10 investors, right? They either have a small business or they're looking to be making like real money in 12 weeks, right? Instead of having to go through the entire learning process themselves. And what we're going to do is we're launching this on October 1st, 2023, and we're going to be taking 10 investors up through the end of the year. We're going to be running your lead generation for you. It's basically going to be like our partnership program, but we're going to make you do your own sales so that you learn that process and you take your lead, you do all of it. But we'll do all of your lead gen. We'll help you build all of your systems. We're going to give you extreme accountability. And at the end of those 12 weeks, if you are not making like serious offers on properties, right, we'll give you all of your money back to jump into it. And, you can walk away and go and tell everyone we suck, because I'm 100% confident that in those 12 weeks, we can get you to the point where you're taking some very, very serious shots on goal. So that is the newest thing that we are bringing to you guys. So you can go to collectingkeyspodcast.com/launch and you will be able to learn about our Accelerator program. And this is going to be our way that every quarter, we're going to end up with 10 badasses. They're going to go out there and take the world by storm. And then the rest of their life is going to look completely different after that.
And the cool thing about it is we're literally only going to, we're limiting it to 10 people. Like, we're not going above that, because we want to have like people to have direct access and really get the most benefit out of this. So it'll be like a small cohort of like special forces kind of training, right? And then the cool thing is if you're a true badass and you really do want to like go to the next level, then you'll be able to apply to be in our partnership program once you've gone through that whole thing. Not everybody gets selected for our partnership program. We're pretty specific about that. But if you go through that accelerator program and you're crushing it and you're loving this, like, there's no reason why you can't apply for the partnership program and really take it to the next level.
Exactly. Yeah. So should be good. So anyways, collectingkeyspodcast.com/launch. Go check that out. And we would love to see if you would be a good fit for it. So cool. Right on, guys. Well, I think that's a wrap for the show there. Go check out that link, collectingkeyspodcast.com/launch, and apply for our Accelerator program. And we would love to chat with you and see if you're the right kind of candidate that we're looking for. Again, like we said, we're limiting it to 10 people. So if you miss out, sorry, but it is what it is. We'll catch you on the next quarter. Maybe we'll keep a running list of everyone that applies for it. And then outside of that, you should give us a follow on Instagram. I'm at Mike_invest. Dan is at InvestorManDan. Go ahead and shoot us a DM. Dan has been turning up the Instagram content recently. He's actually had some pretty good videos going out there too.
I've been crushing it, as they say. I think that's what they say.
You've been crushing it. You've been on a roll for like 2 weeks. We'll see how long it continues.
Yeah. Tune in, because you never know what I'm going to say. That's the thing, is I'm not as polished as Mike. You're going to get the real raw Dan. And it might be off color.
But yeah, it might be. Just don't get banned. So anyways, guys, give us a follow on Instagram there. And besides that, we appreciate you all. And we'll talk to you guys next week.